Welcome to the GameDev.tv Community Podcast. I'm your host KB, and I would like to introduce you to industry professionals and people who successfully made their path to the video game industry. I hope that you will enjoy the podcast and get useful tips that will bring you closer to achieving your dreams. Now, let's get right into the podcast. Welcome to the GameDev.tv podcast. How are you guys doing today? We got Grant joining us today, Grant Abbitt. So let them know a little bit about what's going on this week, what's happening, what just got released.
So we've been working on a Kickstarter to learn how to draw using game art. And that's the really exciting bit, I think, is the game art aspect. Obviously, being GameDev.tv, we've got the game art style. And so we're going to have lots of fun learning how to draw. And it's Kickstarter at the moment, so it's been released just last week. And there's lots of good deals on there. So you can get some other courses at the same time as obviously the art course when that comes out fully.
Awesome. And then I have to ask, because I asked Ben too last time, but what was up with the cherry pickers, the thing you guys did? How was that experience?
Well, Ben has just suddenly developed an obsession with heights, so he said, "Oh, you've got to come up with this cherry picker," and so we decided it would be part of the podcast because sort of elevating to heights and that sort of thing. I'm not sure. It was just an excuse to mess around, really.
Yeah, no, it was funny. It was like, this is different. I've never seen somebody do that with the video up here, but I think it sold it. I think we got a lot of people. Aren't we like halfway there with the Kickstarter?
Yeah, I think we're like 72%, I think I checked this morning or something like that. So quite amazed at how quickly it's taken off. So really excited, definitely.
Yeah, and it was funny because Ben accidentally clicked the publish button a little too early.
Yeah, that wasn't really his fault because on Kickstarter, there's this sort of thing about, you can sort of publish it earlier so that people know it's coming up. So we all sort of agreed in this meeting, yeah, we'll press the button. And then suddenly it was live and I thought, I better go and sort out some graphics and stuff.
Oh, it's so funny. It's like, we're not ready. Who said press the button? We all did, but yeah. Let's blame Ben.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Now, what would you say to anyone that's like beginners or new to drawing? Like, how can they feel that this course will help them get to a point where they can actually draw?
Yeah, so that's our main focus is for beginners and that learning stage, especially if you're quite intimidated, because it does seem quite intimidating, doesn't it, when you first put pen to paper. And there's so much out there that nowadays, especially with sort of Instagram and everything else, we see this wonderful art and it just seems so far removed from us. So those first baby steps are going to be all important. So just figuring out simple things like how to hold the pencil and so forth, and simple shapes and stuff like that. So starting with stroke and getting that line art and circles and shapes, and then building up to 3D, getting the shading in. And then building up with depth, so perspective, and just really, really baby steps. But the main thing is just to enjoy it as we're going along. So that's why we're producing sort of game art and have different levels of game art as we go through, like a computer game.
Just to get to the next, boss level, and you got to beat that one, and use your new skills that you learned to get the next one, stuff like that.
Exactly. In fact, I need to put some bosses in there. No, that's the next.
There you go. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And what would you say to new students, like tips or tricks so they can get the most out of the course?
Yeah, the key is the challenges. I think that's the best thing about all the Game Dev TV courses. Putting everything into those challenges is where you're actually going to learn. Develop, I should say. You learn on you look at what the other people are doing, and you learn from them in the lectures, and then it's those challenges where you really put that into practice. And it's quite easy. I don't know, I do it myself sometimes, and just watch a YouTube video and you think, oh, right, yeah, I remember that. And you never do if you don't actually get it pen to paper or mouse to screen or whatever you call it. Finger to mouse.
Something.
Yeah. You never actually really embed those skills. So, yeah, doing the challenges and doing lots of the challenges until you feel comfortable, and then moving on to the next level. In fact, that's kind of how I play. I love role-play games, and that's how I do it. I like to get my
Witcher 3, Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. That's it. And then just step up, and I'm ready for the next level. And when you're comfortable, you move on. You feel really comfortable in that next level, rather than sort of feeling like out of fish out of water sort of.
Yeah, like you're not ready. Like, I don't know how to use these skills. I don't know how to use these weapons I was given. What happened?
Exactly.
And then actually, what would you give advice to someone who's taking the course and let's say they're stuck at a challenge and they just can't draw it the way that you're drawing it? Like, what should they do?
Well, that's where the community's really useful, isn't it? So you can go onto the community, ask people how they cope with it, look at what other people have done as well, and the struggles that they've gone through. Especially, it's so again, it's one of those things where you look at the instructor and they do it so quickly and easily because they've been doing it a long time. But when you see someone else struggling with it, you suddenly it sort of clicks, doesn't it? You think, yeah, so I need to just do that a little bit there, or they do it a little bit slower, and obviously ask for help as well in certain areas. But the key is often just going back and starting again, practicing, and they're sort of mini challenges. There'll be a lot of in previous like the Blender courses that I've done. They're quite big challenges, or sort of they feel big anyway. But these will be sort of little thumbnail type scenarios where you quickly draw and you try and get those techniques over time. Whereas with Blender, you bring in a cube and it's a cube and it's a lovely cube.
You're like, wow, I did it.
Yeah, I've done it. But with drawing, it's so different, isn't it? So it will be draw about 6 or 7 cubes, and then you think, the last one, suddenly I've got this. It's a bit like, I don't know, gymnastics. If you look at a video of someone saying, this is how you do a backflip, you can't just go out, otherwise you might hurt yourself.
Oh yeah, I can't do backflip without hurting myself. That's just not gonna go.
I've seen a video. I know how to do this. So it's an art's very similar. It's not Blender's slightly different, isn't it? And coding, I think, as well. There is an element of practice, but it is once you embed that, you're there. But with something like art, it's very much you can keep going and going and going. And the more practice you do, the better you get. And it's just about putting those hours in a sense. But doing it in a fun way, so you keep doing it, and easy wins, as we talked about last time. I think.
Exactly, easy wins. And it's actually some people who haven't heard of you or don't know like any of the courses you've done. Can you explain a little bit about who you are and what you're going to be doing with this course?
Yeah, of course. So I'm more a Blender expert than an art expert, but the art side of Blender is all important, what I would say, especially the way I do things, because I do a sculpting workflow. So that's sort of very organic, and I've got a pen tablet with a screen and a pen that I draw on, and I sculpt using the pen. So it's all very arty. So I seem to be the best candidate for doing the 2D art, with my teaching experience as well on the side.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm more a Blender expert, but all the art that I do is sort of game-based, and it's for the background images that you trace around when you're doing the character art and so forth. So that's kind of my background within it. And because I teach very sort of, half and half. I teach sort of artists and techies, I call them. So it's game design is what I teach, but actually you've got these artists who are really sort of wanting to do the sculpting and the drawing, and then you've got these game dev type scenario people who hate drawing. So I've got to sort of try and get these game dev people into this sort of mindset that it's okay to pick up a pencil every now and again.
Yeah, it's okay. The pencil won't hurt you.
Exactly that. And it's quite a struggle because that's just not the direction they want to go. But as soon as they realise that it's not too bad, and it's just sort of simple shapes, and they get that into your head, then it's not too bad. I think I've gone off on one here, and I was supposed to be talking about myself.
Yeah, no,
When
talking about shapes. Now you can, yeah. But yeah, back on track. So we were, you. Who are you?
Yeah. So in terms of what I do, I'm a freelance 3D artist mainly, and I suppose a bit of graphics and art as well, and obviously a teacher as well of 3D art. I suppose that's my main job title. But that's quite long, isn't it? And a YouTuber as well.
And a YouTuber.
3D freelance artist, graphic designer, YouTuber. I always struggle when it comes to my profile on things. What is it I do? Just 3D.
You just do everything. Why not?
Just art.
Oh my god.
I live art.
Zoe, are you good at drawing?
I can draw. Yeah, I'm all right actually. It's one of the things I picked up this year during lockdown. Actually, funnily enough.
Nice.
Portraits.
I was planning on you saying no, and I'm like, all right, Grant, what would you tell for people who say they're not good at drawing?
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry,
no, it's good. That's fine.
I'm sorry that my experience is so rich and varied. What can you do?
But yeah, so Grant, what would you say to someone who says like, "Oh no, I can't draw. Like I can't be taught how to draw"?
Yeah, the thing I would say there is no, like babies can't draw. Until you pick up a pencil, it's not one of those things where you're naturally born with a pencil in hand. So it is just about practice and working at it and taking. Not expect you've got to think about your expectations and I want to do some Naughty Dog concept art. As soon as I pick up the pencil is impossible in a sense.
I did that one time. I was like, I'm gonna be able to draw all these characters. Did not happen at all.
Yeah, and characters are so hard because, but when you break it down and you start at basic steps, so draw a circle, draw a cylinder, make sure you can do it in 3D, and then basically a person is just made up of spheres and cylinders, and then you can suddenly you can start to draw characters at a basic level anyway. Obviously, when it comes to concept anatomy, which we won't be going into in the course, that's sort of what this muscle is called and so forth. Because it's still at the basic levels, but it's about getting those shapes and understanding those shapes and how they're positioned and being able to draw those shapes and understand how, when light hits them, where the shadows are going to go. I'm not sure if I keep feeling like I'm never answering your questions.
You know, you're getting somewhere and I like it, but yeah, you're right. I don't think it was.
Okay,
you're right.
I suppose the starting point is, in fact, that's probably what I need to do is a few starting point videos just to start people off, get them along the road, and then they can see whether they like the course or not. That's my job for the day, to design some videos.
There you go. I didn't mean to give you more work.
Never ended.
Is there any like requirements for the course or like any resources you need beforehand?
No, that's a really good question actually, because lots of people are asking about graphics tablets and so forth. I think it's really, really helpful if you want to get into drawing, then getting a graphics tablet, and they're not too expensive now. I think there's a Huion one that's about £20. Well, the UK prices, of course, probably $20 to be fair in America, but
yeah, like 30.
I think that's so worth it because there's free drawing programs. I'll be using Krita, which is a free program. So it's Krita, it's called. Yeah, start the Krita, and it's a really lovely drawing program.
Wait, so is it like Photoshop but for free?
It's Photoshop for free basically, but it hasn't really got the it hasn't got the photo editing side of it. So, but it has got all the important things you need for drawing. So it's all the art that I do recently is in Krita. So yeah, it's and there's professionals out there using it. So it's very decent.
Why have I never heard of it? Who's hiding it from me and the rest of the world?
So although we're trying to make the course as much as possible that anybody could take it, so if you've got a pencil and paper, you should be able to just follow along. It'll be a little bit harder especially when it comes to things like colour, because colouring pencils, which is fine, you can use them, but it's just that bit harder because obviously the digital software has layers, so we can build up a layer and put it over the top, and then if we do something wrong in that layer and it destructs all our layers below, we can just delete that layer and start that layer again. Whereas if you're on a picture and you put a stroke somewhere with a red pencil or something through their face or something,
you're kind of out of luck.
Exactly.
Now, do you think it's gonna be harder for someone to learn with like digital and a tablet than it is to learn with just paper, or like should you just advise them to do whatever they feel like is more comfortable?
Yeah, now that's the thing. I would say it's so much easier to learn to how to draw with a tablet because you have the undo button and because you have things like layers. It's not so destructive. So you'll find your progress will be easier because you won't worry about the strokes that you make. So you'll develop much faster with a graphics tablet. The only problem is it takes about an hour or 2 hours to get used to using a tablet, because obviously looking up at the screen and not looking at your hand is quite tough. But it just becomes so second nature after about an hour or two that it's.
Oh no, it took me like a week. But but no, it's like weird because you're drawing and usually you see it, but you're seeing it. It's a disconnect, and you have to get used to that.
Yeah.
Now, the best one is having a tablet that's actually like the screen's on it and you can draw on that. That's some high tech stuff I
Yes.
don't have money for, but that's a
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah. That's what I use. I've got a display tablet, and they're coming down in price. They're getting it's still 220, I think, is the cheapest, and that's
Okay,
sort of like
that's
a
actually not
12-inch
bad.
tablet. But that's not bad. It's pretty good. So if you can go that way,
Yeah.
that's it.
Let's clarify about this course. Do you have to want to do game art, or is it just a way to learn how to draw?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. I'll be going through game art, so generally speaking, I think that will be, yeah. I'm trying to think whether people could do their own artwork alongside. Yeah, they could do, because let's say one of the first tasks is creating 2D monsters. So to get used to the idea of shape, drawing a circle and then a bigger circle underneath it, and then little legs coming out, just to get some shapes in there and get some line work. I'm thinking monsters because I'm thinking game, but it could be something else. Some weird characters that aren't necessarily to do with game. I suppose game is very wide, isn't it? Sort of game art styles, so it's quite wide and far-reaching. But generally speaking, I find that art is really fun and
Yeah, it
exciting.
really is.
And so maybe it's everybody loves it, surely. Everybody loves
Yeah,
gaming.
honestly, nowadays, like, how can you not like video games?
It's just
It's
amazing.
everywhere. Yeah, it's film. Everybody loves film. Everybody loves games, books. Come on,
Yeah.
it's all fun to get.
But I suppose there'll be some people. I think someone asked a question on the AMA saying, "Will you be following this sort of what I call it is sort of almost like advanced photocopying, where you take a picture of someone's face and then you divide it into grids, and then you sort of measure out exactly what their face proportions are, and then you
Okay.
start shading in." But I feel like that's a really slow way to learn, because it takes you so long to produce one picture. And more importantly is really sort of just bashing out 10 quick pictures, and then figure out what's working, and then work on the best one, and improve that, do that another 5 times, and then build up with lots and lots of pen to paper, rather than these fine digital sort of photocopying type techniques. So traditional art techniques, although I wouldn't say that's a traditional art technique, it's actually it's sort of a bit of a hack in a sense. And not taking anything away from that. I don't want to be rude to people that are using that technique, but for learning and the structure of the face, there's much better ways. And if you learn in that way, you'll only be able to copy pictures. Whereas what I want to be able to do is get people happy to draw out their imagination. So they think of some slime monster or something, and they can think, right, how does slime work, and how the flow of the shape and so forth work, and be able to just draw that, put it down. And no one can, well, some artists are amazing and they can sort of produce a slime monster just like that. But most artists will do like 20 thumbnails of the slime monster until they get the one they want, and then work on that one. And that's the better way to work. So really sort of quick sketches and quick designs, and you feel like you're progressing quickly then.
No, awesome, yeah. And
Yeah.
actually, I was curious, is you guys gonna be doing like kind of like mindset videos, kind of like you said, where you talk about like more like how to do this and that from a more like philosophical type of way?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I've been asked that quite a few times, and it's making me think that I probably do need to put them in, because I was thinking that people wouldn't be so interested in that. But I suppose it is such a important aspect of learning, isn't it? Your mindset towards the learning. It's tricky to know how to put them in and where to put them in. Maybe at the end of each section have a sort of a food for thought section or something like that. I do keep thinking about that, because, and I suppose with art especially, because you can really get to points where you get depressed with your work, don't you?
Yeah,
And
I bet.
you feel like you're not developing.
You're like, I'm drawing the same.
Yeah, and I still do that today. I mean, a few days ago, I was thinking, this just is not working. I
No,
can't
really?
do this course.
Oh my God.
I can't teach this. It's too rubbish. But yeah, so we all struggle, because we're all trying to get to, you know, if you're at level 70, you're trying to get to level 80, and if you're level 1, you're trying to get to level 2. And it's those steps that are so frustrating at times, and keeping that positive mindset. So yeah, I think it would make sense to put some of that in as well. Yeah. So I'll do that.
More work. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep it coming.
Zoe, do you have any thoughts on the course?
Yeah, no, I was just thinking about like that idea of hitting a wall. Like, I mean, everybody does. It's like almost a necessary part of artistic practice, isn't it? Is getting to the point where you think that what you're doing is awful and you never should have started doing it in the first place. It is actually kind of a necessary place to get to, because you need to find a way to overcome it. It is really important. I do really acknowledge that. But what a question I had is how much does, say if you've mapped out a new course like this, how much sort of leeway is there for you to change it and adapt it based on people's feedback who have been doing the course? Like, do you tend to change things around quite a lot, or does it tend to stay?
Yeah, that's a great question as well, because that's the beauty of a Kickstarter, really, is that it's not set in stone exactly what we're doing, and we're getting feedback from the community. And because when Ben first mentioned about doing a Kickstarter, I thought, well, what's the point? And then he said, well, it's because you get all that feedback, and you get a course that is exactly what people want. And I thought, oh, that's great, let's go for it. Let's press the button early. So yeah, it's that's, I think, it's essential for me. I suppose I do it at the moment with my YouTube. I release a video and then get feedback, and then that informs my next one. So I do really like getting that feedback and finding out what people want. I can't promise that I can listen to all the feedback, because some people like to take it in a really specific direction. But it is really helpful to have that and develop the course in different ways as we go. I've obviously got a curriculum in mind, but being able to adapt that, and also to see how fast people are coping with it, whether it's too easy for some, too hard for others, and finding that balance. And that's going to be key, getting that feedback from the community. So yeah, definitely looking forward to hearing what they have to say.
After people have finished your course, where do you suggest they go next for further learning?
Yeah, that's a good one as well. You got it typed. They're good ones.
Yeah, that was killing it.
Yeah, so the idea behind this for me is to get that starting point where you feel confident, where you think, right, I can take things out of my head and draw them, but they might not be to a great level. So they're to a half decent level, and you can think, yeah, I'm happy with that, and be looking for the next levels, which are going to be things like advanced rendering and sort of texturing and lighting and so forth, where you really, and it's, at that point it will become about practice, about just looking up the odd thing. So looking on YouTube for how certain artists use light, and how certain artists cope with depth and so forth. And but you won't need those really initial steps, like how on earth do you have one point that's far away from the camera looking like it is far away from the camera, that sort of, or how on earth do I even start drawing these shapes? So those sort of basic steps we should be nice and comfortable with, so we can just work out those tougher things later on. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does, definitely. I guess as well, like, if you do want to move into like creating 3D models for games, you have to have like an awareness of how they're physically going to work within like a game world and how they'll move and that kind of thing. Yeah. Do you touch on that at all in the course, or is that more a later on advanced thing?
Yeah, now a few people have been asking about that on the Kickstarter, actually. You got all the good questions. You guys are good at this. So people have been asking, because obviously GameDev.tv, how do we take this stuff and put it into our games and so forth? To me, I would say that's the easier bit. The more challenging bit is doing the artwork. So maybe there'll be some stretch goals we're talking about putting in, about taking 2D characters and how we can then animate them. Or how we can go from our 2D characters into the character turnarounds, as they're sometimes known, where you've got the profile of the shape and you can trace around it. So those things I'm very comfortable with showing people, and they're quite easy once you've got the previous technique. So quite excited that people will be able to take their art and put it into their games. So yes, I think we will be doing sections on that as well.
Cool. Do you think like in tech they have what are they called? Let me just think. People called unicorns who do like the creative and the tech side. Have you heard of that before?
Yes. Yeah. And they're supposed to be quite sought after, aren't they? They're those unicorns.
Yeah, they are. That because it's just like such a sought after like selection of skills. Do you think like game development accommodates that kind of mixed skill set? It sounds like you have, actually. Maybe you're a unicorn. Oh well.
Wow.
Unfortunately, I'm just a naff pony or something, because I don't do much of the coding. I understand bits of it, but I'm pretty poor when it comes to that. It's funny because I think I'm listed as one of the instructors in game dev, so people keep saying, so in C++, I've got this problem. And I'm, no, I don't know what to do. But to answer your question, I think it is something that's it's going to be so important, especially with we might have even touched upon this last time, but AI and how things are going to become automated. So having an understanding of lots of these different tools is going to allow you to be more creative and more versatile, so you can jump across areas of your career, and that is going to be absolutely essential. When obviously it's really simplifying things, but let's say suddenly we've got a program that you can say, right, I want a character here, a character there, and they're going to fight this big bad boss, and you don't need to code it anymore. You can just drag and drop them in. There's no coding involved. And we're probably going to get to that stage. I mean, I know Unity and Unreal, they're looking towards those sort of areas where the coding is becoming easier and easier. It usually makes it harder and harder, actually. Oops. But it's about that creativity and coding not getting in the way of it. So if you can push your abilities, it makes you more creative, especially in sort of the artistic side, if you're coding, and obviously the other way around as well, your technical side, if you're an artist. So pushing those different areas and having at least a basic understanding of them, I think nowadays, and in the future-proofing yourself, is going to be essential. And becoming a beautiful unicorn.
That's the most important part about today, is that you're growing into an awesome and beautiful unicorn.
Yes, that is it.
Woo! For anyone who's looking through the Kickstarter, never seen a GameDev.tv course, doesn't understand the challenges at the end, when they see the concept, stop it, try it yourself, what is that and why is that so important?
Yeah, so sort of as I was saying earlier, it's, you can watch a video and think, yeah, that was really useful watch, and that's really helpful, and it pushes your skills. There's nothing wrong with watching. Like, I try and watch maybe one YouTube video a day, or some sort of training videos, usually on YouTube, because it's just a nice, easy platform for it. And so to embed some skills, some new knowledge. But unless I put pen to paper or finger to mouse, I haven't embedded those skills. So I know that when I'm watching that, I'm going to have to look at it again later on if I want to use that skill and develop it and understand it. I'm going to actually have to look at it again and go through and do it for myself. And that's where it's not only that with the challenges. So let's say we're learning to draw a little monster again, to a slime monster, back to him, and I'm going through, all right, you've got the curves here, and you've got this shape here, we've drawn this lovely slime monster, and you've done exactly the same thing. It's you've only gone so far in your learning. It's until you decide that you need to, right, we're going to try a spike monster next, and you have to do that on your own. Then the struggle comes where you've got to think creatively, and it's getting over that fear as well of pushing your skills to the next level, where you have to make the decisions rather than just following along. And a lot of people, I've had a few people on YouTube get annoyed with me when I say, right, your homework is to do the next section.
You're like, what?
And they say, well, they asked me to do homework, but then actually the comment underneath is edited, and they're saying, actually, the homework was really helpful. And I've done it on my own. And you've suddenly done these things on your own. You're really proud of, because it's your work then. It's not an instructor, and you can actually put it in your portfolio then, because you're not just following some tutorial that everybody else has done.
Exactly. No, that's a good one, because if you show all the same work that you did in the course, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are gonna do that. The person's gonna get it and be like, I've seen this for 10 times. Throw that out there. This guy's just copying the tutorial.
Yeah.
And also, I want to get into, will the course talk about portfolios and like building it up and how to do one and stuff like that?
That's a very good question, and I hadn't actually thought about that, but I think that is something essential to think about. So yes, now. Now you said it.
Another one to the list.
Yeah.
I'll talk about the structure of the course. You say you do like a bunch of advanced techniques, like start off with stroke and you go to 3D shapes.
Yep.
Why is it designed like that, and how is that going to help everyone learn?
Yeah, so that's the tricky thing, isn't it, about learning online, is that there's no method to it. You sort of, someone's done this advanced video on lighting and you think, well, I can't even draw the car that's being lit, sort of thing, you know. So going through those steps, and that it took me a long time to, and chatting to Ben as well, it took us quite a long time to figure out what's the best format for doing this, and step by step, so no one feels that there's been a big jump from one step to the other. And I'm probably still not solid on it. I've got a very I've got quite a detailed view of how it's going to go, but it's still adaptable because we don't want to lose anybody along the way and people giving up. And that's really important to me, that people don't sort of buy the course and then think, oh, it's not really for me, that sort of thing. And so nice. Obviously, the easy wins is quite important.
Yes, easy wins.
So we'll start off with it will be sort of. So very basic, simple stroke techniques about just line work. So it will all be really 2D, like 2D shapes of circles, cubes. I should say squares because cubes is 3D, isn't it? I'm still thinking 3D.
The unicorn brain.
It is, that's it. So really simple things like that, and then just building up with a bit of colour in there as well, and then moving on to shading and thinking about the 3D objects, so how you can turn those 2D shapes into 3D shapes, and then shade them, and then putting them into scenes with a bit of perspective. And how can we do scenes? So basic, a tree, a house, and those sort of things, just building up really slowly, methodically. And then there's perspective, because there's 1-point perspective and 2-point perspective. Well, there's actually 4-point perspective, but we won't go that far because they're kind of crazy pictures.
Really?
It's where you get a fisheye lens look, and you'd only really do that if you're a comic book artist. In fact, it's even crazy when they do it. So.
It's almost forbidden, but yeah.
It's forbidden. It's forbidden on this course, isn't it? So we'll just be doing 1-point and 2-point perspective because those are the more commonly used. And then we might go into more advanced techniques, like just techniques of how you can use stroke. So when you see things like people who do ink drawings, they really got a great understanding of stroke and the thickness of the stroke depending on where the stroke is in your shape. I'm probably going into too complex stuff now, but the stroke is sort of important for how you shade an object sometimes. So a bit of advanced stuff moving on like that. And it will go on to form as well, because it starts off when you've got really all these sort of blocky shapes, and then how do we flow them into each other? So if you think something like a tree trunk, it's a cylinder, but then how does this one cylinder flow into the cylinders of the roots? Well, you've got to have that flow and form and shape. So that's the more advanced sections that we get into. Does that give you a sort of timeline?
Yeah, no, that was perfect. I don't
Cool.
know if I grasp all of it, but yes, it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
See, they thought about all of this so much. Like, they were in the rooms putting pen and paper, like the crazy scientists, so this course can be perfect for everyone.
That's it.
Honestly,
It's quite funny, actually. I was because Ben doesn't draw much, so we were having these sort of Skype call things, or Zoom calls, in fact, where I had to try and teach him how to draw, and we were sort of going through these techniques, and that's what brought us to this. So we do need to actually do some earlier versions, and so yeah, there was a lot of thinking and a lot of painstaking trying to teach Ben how to draw.
So you're saying if you can teach Ben, you can teach anyone?
That's exactly it. Yeah, I didn't want to say it out loud.
Perfect. Oh my goodness. Okay, and what would separate this course from all the other courses that teach people how to draw? What makes this one special?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've been asking myself that a lot because there's so many drawing courses out there, and I think and it took us a long time to think, well, what is special about us? And it's going to be that, one, the game dev, the game style, because I think that's the funnest thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool game art. You think, I want to do that. And I get frustrated, not that I've got anything against art teachers, because obviously I know lots of art teachers at college and so forth, but someone comes along and they draw anime, and they say, stop drawing the anime, get those stupid eyes out of here.
Stupid anime eyes.
And yes, I understand where the art teacher's coming from. You can't draw anime, you need to understand the fundamentals, all that sort of stuff. But if they want to draw anime, they love and draw an anime, they will get better at art. They'll just take a different direction. So let people draw anime. That's going to be the title of it.
I found it, the title. Zoe, remember that.
Yeah.
Let people draw anime.
So for me, it's let's draw these silly characters, and yes, they won't be as good as if we had a really great understanding of anatomy, and our characters won't be as cool, but we'll have made some cool characters still, and we'll be learning the simple starting points of how to draw. And also in sort of art classes, I've seen sort of there's so much of an emphasis on doing mixed media, which is fine. But if you love something, let's say I love game art, I don't really want to go out and collect leaves and stick them into a book because it's not exciting for me. It's good to learn that in school. I'm not saying there's a problem with that. But for me, it's learning what I want to do. So you know that this is going to be a game course-ish for game art. And if you like game art, then do this course and you'll be creating some game art along the way. So that's going to be one aspect that's different from other courses. It's very game focused. And the second aspect is those challenges that we build. I think that's the great thing about GameDev.tv, and that's what really excited me about, because I remember being contacted by Rick from GameDev.tv saying, did you want to do some courses with us? And I've been contacted by lots of people saying, do you want to work with us? And he was quite persistent in the sense that he kept let me decide, but he was kept sort of calling me up saying, are you sure you don't want to try this out? And when I learned about things like the challenges and the teaching assistant community, I thought actually maybe I'll give this a try, because they sound like they're a company that really respects the student and not just out there to make some money, and respects the learning process. And so yeah, having those challenges and trying to build the student up, make them really ready for the next stages, rather than just quick get this course out and make some money. And then that community as well, teaching assistants. I don't know of any other sort of online courses that have, well, unless they're sort of university courses and they've always cost thousands, but to have teaching assistants on courses that are one of the lowest priced courses you'll find.
Sometimes $10, yeah.
Exactly. This is it's crazy. And I thought, how on earth are you going to make any money? But because they sell such high quantity, because it's so good, you think, well, this is working out for everybody. Everybody's getting a really good experience at a low price, and you've got this great community, and we've built it. Yeah, it goes on and on. I'll go. Hey, game dev.
I hate it. No, I'm just kidding. Oh no, but yeah, exactly, so true. That's what makes this whole course different. It's got the whole community behind it, and then we'll
exactly that. Yeah.
And you get the podcast, listen to Zoe and I and everyone else, Ricardo, Bryant, and Aaron, talk with tons of developers from all around the world, doing everything from art, programming to, you know what, building studios and all that good stuff.
That's it.
For the complete drawing course, would you recommend anybody like a certain way to complete the course? Like you should do a video a week and then practice all that, or just do it in your own way? Like how should someone go about the course?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I hadn't really considered how people will take to it. I'm hoping that people will be excited about it, and that's what I want to instill in people. That and it's like computer games; they become a bit addictive, don't they? And it can be the same with, and that's what I'm always trying to do with my teaching, is to make it exciting and addictive, so that it's like a game. Because everybody loves playing video games, and you can't tear yourself away from them at times, can you?
You can't. No, I got the new PS5. It's just a wrap. Playing so many games, yeah.
So that's what I want the course to be like. It's something that you're constantly sort of wanting to do the next step because it's exciting. So instilling that sort of mentality is important. So for me, when you get the course, hopefully most people when they get the course think, oh yeah, hopefully I'll spend half an hour a day or an hour a day on this course, and that'd be great. But I'm hoping that will build in people, and they'll be thinking, oh yeah, I suddenly did a binge of 3 hours today, you know, that sort of thing, and build up on it. Because it is, again, it's still about time spent drawing, and that's what's going to improve. Nothing's going to be magical that you're going to suddenly jump levels. There's no cheat code.
There's no cheat code, but you can get easy wins.
Easy wins.
Get those easy wins, please. And if you don't know what that is, you got to go back to the first Grant episode. Don't miss out on any of these, okay? There's important stuff in all of them.
Too right.
Now, do you think there's like a estimated time for the course? Like it's like 50 hours, or how long do you think the course is? How big is it going to be?
Yeah, I think it's was it 30 hours are we looking at? Do you know, I can't remember off the top of my head what that is. 20 to 30 hours, I think, something in between there. Is going to be the actual lecture time. But in terms of the time spent on it, there'll be the expectation is more than that.
10,000 hours, yeah.
10,000 hours. Definitely.
Just start with 10 minutes every day.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You could get halfway through the course, I suppose, and still be happy with where you'd got to because you spent so many hours at that point. Yeah, so it's tricky to say how many hours the student will actually put in because it depends on their comfort levels and trying to reach the next level. And it's sort of like Witcher 3, that's my favourite game. You sort of build up levels, you might give it a pause for a while and then go back to the game later. And that you can do the same with the course.
Mm-hmm. Great game.
It's an awesome game.
The GameDev.tv community, it's amazing, it's awesome, but for anybody who's doing a Kickstarter and has never taken a GameDev.tv course, what is the community? Why are they awesome?
Yeah, so what is it? There's Facebook group, Discord. What are the other things that we've got?
Yes, we got Facebook, Discord, Twitter, LinkedIn now, Reddit. It's got a page. We got Instagram. Then we got all the other stuff, the teaching assistants and different courses, different platforms. Yeah.
I mean that's so great, isn't it? I think Discord is that the one that's most. Actually, Facebook's used a lot as well, isn't it? So I'm sort of just thinking which. Whatever your platform is, you can go on there and talk to people, get feedback. I think the feedback thing is so essential that I know other courses do that, but usually it's they're much smaller communities. Again, I don't mean to be rude, but it's just the way that GameDev.tv is set up that it's sort of trying to get as many people involved as possible. It's sort of like that high volume of sales at a low price. But because of that, there's a really big community. So you can get feedback from people doing the course at the same time. I think that's just brilliant. So going onto Discord and saying, hey, I can't draw this tree. What am I doing wrong? And I struggle with trees, but what I found is if you have a cylinder sticking out here, you've got a perfect tree. That sort of thing.
And boom, there you go.
But it is that, isn't it? Having that conversation and being prepared to take that feedback as well. I think is an essential thing about growing as an artist. So not being afraid of posting your art. And being comfortable in a community that's understanding. If you try and post some of your art to Instagram or even Reddit or somewhere and it's not so good, it's a bit scary, really, isn't it? And you might get criticism. But the community is much better like that because you've got people on the same level as you. So that's why I see it. It's just an absolutely fantastic thing, really.
Yeah. Honestly, I've never really seen anybody aggressive on the community forum. Now, Discord, I think I've seen it once or twice, but most people are usually pretty nice. Yeah. You see something occasionally they'll come out of nowhere and you're like, what's going on with you? What's going on? What happened?
Yeah.
Why are you so bad?
And that's the good thing about having we've got moderators on there and the teaching assistants are the moderators, so they can easily stamp that out before anything goes wrong.
Yeah. Now, is the course going to be on the GameDev.tv site or Udemy?
Yes, both. Yeah. Obviously, at the moment, Kickstarter is the only place you can sort of pre-order if you can call it that, pre-order the course.
Pre-fund or fund to pre-buy?
Yeah, pre-fund. You can pre-fund. It's a good word. Yeah. So if you want sort of early access, then the Kickstarter is the place to go for that. Then it'll be on Udemy and Teachable. So either of those platforms are great because you get sort of lifetime access, as it were. And that's the other good thing, I think, as well, is there's a commitment to these courses that we update them. And if there's any issues, we go back and sort them out. And the teaching assistants are looking, seeing what the issues are. I'm getting contacted every now and again about stuff I've left out in the Blender course, and so I have to go back in and edit the video and all that sort of stuff. And so there's a commitment there to that course, and it will keep going for years and years. I suppose we won't need to edit so much in the art course because the software doesn't develop, but if it does, then we'll go back and we'll talk about, let's say, display tablets. Suddenly there's a different type of display tablet. And we can,
some like AR, VR thing. Yeah.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, that would be. Maybe I need to put that in the course.
Yeah, there you go. Another one to the list. All right.
But that sort of commitment to the courses I really like as well. That we don't just sort of put it out there, make some money and run. It keeps going. It keeps we keep putting stuff into that course, and that's important.
Mm-hmm. And is there any risks for them funding a Kickstarter?
I suppose, no, there's no risk, is there? Because if it doesn't make its funding, then you get refunded your money. So I wouldn't say there's any risks to that. Interesting question. There is a risk section, isn't there, on there? And I always think, well, what is the risk? But there is a risk section in the Kickstarter, but I don't really understand what that is. There's no risks involved in this. No. It can get a sharp pencil. It can be very risky.
That's my favorite part. You're just like, there is none. Don't be afraid. Just do it.
Just do it.
Just go in. Now, is there going to be any stretch goals? And then when will that be released?
Yeah, no, because this is my first Kickstarter, you see. So I'm trying to understand the idea behind stretch goals. But people have suggested a few, and that's very much in line with how can we go from the digital art to our games. And so that's a likely stretch goal in there about how we can maybe take our characters and put them into games, and how can you set them up for animation, that sort of thing. Because obviously, if you want your character to be animated, you want arms swinging or head bobbing, that sort of thing. You need it on a different layer. It's fairly straightforward, really, because but that process that people want to see. So we'll put that in as a stretch goal, most likely, anyway.
Nice. There's gonna be some good stretch goals.
Yeah, man.
I like how you're talking about animation. You're like, oh, it's pretty simple. It sounds pretty simple, but then to go do it, that's the hard part.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. And then, what is the different tiers you can pledge for?
Oh yeah. So that's really great. I'm really impressed with GameDev.tv because I would say this is a reason in itself to fund the Kickstarter. Not even taking the drawing course, but just some of the tier levels, because you can get some courses now for super low prices that sort of combine with the drawing course, just to sort of create an excitement, create funding, and you think, wow, that's amazing. So I'm suggesting to people to go on there to get my character course at the moment, because it's just an extra tier, and it's not that much more to get the drawing course, the character course, and the Blender Creator course all at the same.
And your name in the credits.
Right. Yeah, and your name in the credits. Yeah, so it's amazing. I'm thinking, wow. And there's things in there like lifetime membership. That's just crazy. You can get lifetime membership. So any course that comes out, you'll have access to. You think, what? You can't offer people that.
No, there's no way. Yeah, I was like, wow, for life.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome, isn't it? And we got lifetime members, and I remember the first time I heard about these lifetime members, I thought, so what? They're getting this course that I've made for free. Of course they're not. But I think that's incredible, and that's quite an exceptional thing to offer, I think. But it does they're really cool people as well, because they get involved with the community because they're a lifetime member, so they feel that much more involved as well. And you think, this is pretty good. This is sensible stuff. Let's build the community again. Ben, he's a smart chap, Ben, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Like, dang, how'd you do it?
Yeah.
Now, what's the big question? What do you hope to get the community gets out of this course, or anybody who takes it?
Yeah, I'm really hoping that we'll see lots of fun game art on the community, where people are really proud of what they've achieved, and they feel like they're not intimidated anymore by drawing, so they can, think of a character inside their brain. Inside their brain? Sounds weird, doesn't it? So let's say, I'm not sure where that phrase came from, so let's say they wanted to draw a unicorn, that they could think, because at the moment, if you're new to art, you think, how the heck am I going to handle a unicorn? But with this course, hopefully you'll be able to think, well, there's sort of like a circle at the front and a circle at the back, and then these cylinders coming off, and then you've got this sort of head horse shape, which again is sort of cylinders. So maybe we can get somewhere here with this basic unicorn idea. Maybe it's not going to look like a really absolutely amazing horse that's with a horn on its head, but it's going to be a sort of cool character that resembles a horse that and they can be proud of. That's the thing. So taking the intimidation away, getting to a stage where you feel you can put your ideas that you have down on paper ready for your games. That's where we want people to be at, and to be in a position where you know what to look for as well. So often when you first start drawing, you think, well, I don't even know what to look up because I don't even know where to start. But knowing that, oh, well, I'm struggling with my perspective. Oh, I'll look up 2-point perspective again, remind myself of these things. And so you've got a reference there as well of how to do the more complicated stuff. That's the thinking.
Wow. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's exactly what the whole course is all about. To bring that to everybody and help have an opportunity for anybody to learn how to draw. Everybody around the world.
Exactly.
Because these courses are really cheap, so many people can have access to them. Especially like in India, and I've talked to some people there on the podcast. It's just crazy how they're like, GameDev.tv, Ben, you know Ben? I'm like, yeah, Ben. They get so excited about it because the courses are cheap and they're able to learn what they want to learn.
He's not that great to know. No, he's a very cool guy, isn't he?
He's okay.
Do you know, he trained to be an astronaut? Did you hear that? That's just mental, isn't it?
I know, right? I even asked him about it the first time we did like an interview for the podcast. It was just like, so it was like, well, because he says on his Twitter, he's like a failed astronaut. So that's how I asked him. I was like, so how does it feel to like be a failed astronaut? And he was just, it just didn't come out right. I was like, oh wow. But yeah, and he just, I forgot exactly what happened. He said like, was it something with his eye or he got injured? And he just couldn't.
No, he just felt it wasn't quite the right thing for him. I think. Well, that's how he explained it. I think it really wasn't good enough.
We'll never know. That's his secret.
Yeah.
Now he's leading the best educational game dev site.
That's it. He did actually pass the training. He's a secret astronaut. He's got his own little space X thing going on.
That's the cherry pickers for to build his rocket.
That's it. we found it. We figured it out.
Yeah. Oh man.
I had a question about like anatomy and like that kind of aspect of it. So one of the things that I picked up during this year was doing life drawing, and when you start doing it, you find that, well, I did anyway. I don't know. I found that you'd kind of start maybe with like with the torso or the head, and you'd quickly realize that you know their arm was really stumpy and their leg is like as long as the page, and all of the proportions are wrong. But I guess that's more to do with like having to draw from life. You don't really cover any aspects of like anatomy and scaling in this, or do you do a little bit?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad you said that, because I've kind of missed off that section of the course really, because yes, we are looking at that in a basic way though. So that basic understanding about how there's 7 to 8 heads in one body and all that sort of stuff, and how the crotch is sort of exactly halfway, and where sort of the belly button line is, and where your elbows hit, and all those sort of things. So that really sort of fundamental aspect of anatomy we'll be going through. But when it comes to muscle names and how they intertwine and that sort of thing, we won't be going into. But what I'm hoping is that, because it's tough going, isn't it? Life drawing is really tough going, like you say, and it's something I still struggle with. I do pose practice pretty much every day at the moment, and so I get what's called, if you type in pose generator on Google, you'll get to these sites that just randomly pop up a photo, and you've got like 30 seconds to a minute, and you should see some of my horrendous 30 seconds.
Oh no.
But
it can't be worse than
really great for getting those proportions right. So we'll be going through that, and we're simplifying it into sort of the block characters, not quite stickmen, but block characters. So trying to get used to how we can set up these block characters and put them in poses as well, so that we can have some basic understanding for our characters. But when I say characters, I mean sort of simple sort of monster critters or whatever they are, nothing sort of complex humans, because that I would say that's getting quite advanced at that point. But that's when it starts where you have to really practice, and that daily practice on that pose gen is really useful, I'm finding anyway. And if if I set it to 5 minutes, I think actually that's all right, I can do it. But at 30 seconds, you think, wow, trying to draw a person in 30 seconds. And getting those gesture lines is quite crucial as well, isn't it? But anyway, I'm going off on one with that.
Yeah, those really quick ones are so hard. Like the things that you end up drawing just look absolutely horrendous. Well, mine did anyway. Just
Yeah.
everything was the wrong length and all that kind of thing. But do those kind of fundamental things of proportion and scaling, like say if you're just drawing something really cartoony, does it all still kind of apply in the same way as if you were drawing a figure? Like a human
yeah, only slightly. Well, in my opinion, because lots of people will say, lots of cool artists out there will say, you've got to know your fundamentals, that's the thing, and which is true, and I think it's helpful to know, because if you've got a character and you think, well, why on earth is this not working, then you can go back to those fundamentals. But they're only really basic fundamentals, to me, in my mind anyway, that you need to know in order to make a character work. Let's say you've got a character with this ginormous head and little body. Well, we see loads of those in game dev, and they look awesome, don't they? And you think, that's so great. But the anatomy's all over the place, of course. But they usually have something that's fundamental to them, like a balance. So the legs will be balanced so they're not tipping over or something like that, or the legs will be the same size so that the character balances. So they're much more fundamental, basic things that you can get right and learn without having to go into the really detailed understanding of anatomy. And that's what I want to push, those sort of really basics. Just starting with, if I'm drawing a person now, or a character I should say, that's going to be disproportionate, in like big head or whatever, I'll start with that gesture line and make sure that the center point is balanced, so the weight will work, unless they're doing some sort of dramatic pose like jumping in the air or something. But if they've got a balance point, then the character will probably work from that. But that's usually the fundamental mistakes that, let's say, a kid drawing will make. They'll draw a head off to the side, and then the character would tip over, and it's just unnatural to our eyes. So just understanding those sort of balance techniques for stylized characters is a really good starting point, and it will make your characters work in the first instance.
Interesting. Something just came to mind. Do you remember? I don't know if you ever played Spore. Remember that game?
No, Spore.
Spore. So it was like, I want to say early, I don't know, maybe early 2000s PC game where you would essentially like create these amoebas, and they would evolve into a creature eventually. But the stuff that you could make on there was just, you could like make them have massive legs and have the eyes stuck to the end of the leg, so they wouldn't be able to really move. It was like,
yeah,
the models were so messed up. Do you remember Spore, KB? No,
I never played it, but I know Will Wright made it, and I learned a little bit from it with taking his master class. But other than that, like I never played it, so I don't know.
I'm just looking at some of the imagery from it now, with some of these weird dinosaur creatures.
Yeah, you can like make whatever creature you want, essentially, and it populate the world. That was pretty cool.
And
someone's made a PlayStation controller creature.
No way.
Well, there's a lot of that kind of thing, but you would be able to make these creatures, and it just wouldn't make sense that they were able to move, because they would like be all legs, and like their body would be stuck to the end of one of them, and that would be attached to their arms. There was just no rhyme or reason to it. I've never seen a game like that where you can make things that look so like hideous that they
wow.
And move.
Calling them out.
It's a great game. No, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but that's it, isn't it? That's the sort of fundamentals. That it's quite good to have that game in a way to sort of play with. And then you think, well, that just doesn't work as a character because it just can't move. And so having, I suppose that's the story, isn't it, behind the character? How did it get like that and things? That is also an element to art that's nice to include, and builds your character of your character. If that makes sense.
Characterception.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else, Zoe?
No, that's it from me.
Awesome. So great. You know what time it is? It's challenge time. On the challenge
yeah.
Yeah. What should they do?
About the challenges? Yeah.
Yeah. It could be anything. It could be just going on Kickstarter and funding the first tier or something like that.
Okay, so yeah, a challenge. Well, I would definitely challenge people to go and at least have a look on the Kickstarter to see what great tiers there are, because that's just crazy, I'll tell you. But yeah, a challenge. I've forgotten about this, but a quick challenge that comes to mind. Thinking of monsters, we've been talking about monsters all the way along.
Yes, monsters all day.
Let's challenge ourselves to create just really basic shapes. So thinking like circles, cubes. I keep saying cubes instead of squares. Why am I doing that? Circles,
cooler.
squares, triangles. Just really basic, and try and make a simple monster out of those. So just and then try that. Maybe 10 of those, pen and paper, graphics tablet if you want to get used to your graphics tablet, but just with circles, triangles, and squares. They're called squares, aren't they?
There you go.
And then I don't know where we can post them. What's a good place to post them so we can see these people's work?
The forum, Instagram, Facebook. I'll find them. Just tag me either my name or Grant's name. We'll find them.
That's it. Tag us in them so we can see what you've done. And if you want to, if you're a bit more comfortable, you can take to the next step and then think about if those, let's say that square, that circle, if it's 3D and we wanted to make a 3D character, then where's the light coming from, and where's the shading going, and where's the highlights? But that's for more advanced people. Don't panic if that's what the heck is he talking about? Just start off with those simple shapes and see what sort of monster you can create. And we're looking for about 10. So quickly draw them, nice quick. It should end about a minute each. Sort of work on them, and maybe take one and develop that for about sort of 2 minutes. Take just push one a bit further that you like the look of, and then maybe post that one.
Make the last one a unicorn.
Yeah, and draw a unicorn and a dragon.
Yeah, exactly. And a dragon. Go all the way. The scales and everything. Draw a giant dragon. Yeah, awesome. So thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing the complete drawing Kickstarter, what the course can be about, and just everything, so they know what they're getting into when they take the course.
That was really good fun. Thank you very much for having me on. It's been a delight and a pleasure as always.
Of course. And we're just gonna leave the mic with you, so you can end it off with anything you want to say. And thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks very much. So yeah, please go onto the Kickstarter and support us. We're going to make the best ever, world's best drawing course, and there may be a unicorn in there. Thanks very much.
Well, that's it. Thanks for listening. You can find all GameDev.tv courses at courses.GameDev.tv/courses or in the show notes with a 10% discount. Get started with your game development journey today.